Dose reduction form training for extraoral and intraoral images. I already have my name pulled up. We're going to go underneath the medical history. All the forms that are online default under the medical history. You're going to click on the button down here that says Form Type. And we are going to go down or up here to where it says Dose Reduction. Dose Reduction and Technique Checklist, Extraoral, Panoramic. Dose Reduction and Technique Checklist, Intraoral. So we're going to start with intraoral. So this will be your FMX, your bite wings. The patient should be seating in one of the X-ray units when this is filled out. The student then, when they have the patient sitting down in the unit, they will then answer these questions. Film. They're not going to be using film. Film. Not going to be using film. If they were to use film, put yes, but they only use those in radiology as of right now. Digital, yes, I am going to be using the digital, and I have the control panels set on digital. Every control panel is set. Control panels are not to be adjusted unless the instructor does so. Digital, I am using a range of 65, 7 MA in the seconds. Yes, you are. I've looked. Digital, I selected the appropriate size sensor as 0, 1, or 2. Yes. I contacted the patient's dental office to see what radiographs they have had in their past records. You will always do that form, and we'll go over that later. I completed the radiograph permission form. Yes, you have to. I am using recommended guidelines for prescribing radiographs. Yes, you will be. Each dental X-ray unit has a list of things that would be described as prescribing radiographs. We never say, oh, this person's due for radiographs, or, well, they just haven't had them in a really long time. There has to be a reason. So, for example, if they're getting these images, you could say, when I was screening them and exploring them, I noticed that they had calculus between every single tooth and there was bleeding. And then when I probed, my probe would stop because it would get in the way of the calculus. So I really wasn't getting accurate readings. And I know that these depths are probably deeper, but I need the images to be able to verify this and interpret this. So you're going to be using the correct guidelines. We're never just going to say, oh, their insurance covers it, let's do it, or this patient's due. No way. We would never do that. We only do it if it's necessary because this is radiation. I have a technique chart posted in my X-ray room showing the KDP, MA, and exposure time setting for different size patients. Yes, I have it for adults and for a child. I am using the extension cone paralleling technique, the XCP. We use XCP on every single patient. If the instructor wants to use bisection of the angles to show, they can, but otherwise students are taught to do the paralleling technique. In our book, the paralleling technique has also been shown to reduce radiation. So that is another reason why we do this. We want to make sure that we are performing at ALERA, as low as reasonably achievable. I, the student, properly placed the lead apron and thyroid collar on my patient. Yes. I position the patient's head securely against the headrest with the maxillary arch parallel to the floor. Yes. So then at this point, the student would sign their name, and they would say, Dr. Hazlett, or they could really get an instructor too, but they could say, Dr. Hazlett, I'm needing a signature. Can you come and look at my dose reduction form? So Dr. Hazlett then is going to come in there, and she's going to look, and she's going to say, okay, they're not using film. Okay, come down here. Yes, yeah, okay. And then she's going to get down here where it says that the lead apron's on, and she's going to look at the patient. The patient's not going to have the lead apron on. So then Dr. Hazlett's going to say, you have yes here, but you don't have the thyroid collar on the patient or the lead apron. And so then you would get marked off points. So make sure that the student is doing this and checking off as they answer each of these, and then make sure that they review it again before they come and see you. So then the student then would accept, and then the dentist then would be satisfied, and then they would sign. I may have updated this form, you guys. I think I did, to where it could be the dentist or the instructor in case we get bogged down. And then you save it. So let's go on back up to the medical history. And we're going to go back down here to the forms. And we're going to go to piano. I want to go to the extraoral. So now we're using the piano. So this is the dose reduction technique for the extraoral instead of the intraoral. So the student then will take the patient back there and start getting set up and ready before the instructor's even back there. The student will have this form pulled up on a computer, and the student will say, I am using a digital panoramic machine. Yeah, you are. The patient's wearing a lead apron appropriately. Yes, they need to make sure that the lead apron is on the person appropriately. The Velcro goes in the front, not the back. The Velcro goes in the front. The patient is not wearing a thyroid collar. Correct. You do not want a thyroid collar in the panoramic image because you will get a shark fin and then it will ruin the image. Again, as low as reasonably achievable, we have to make sure that all of these are met before we take any radiographs. I contacted the patient's dental office to see what radiographs they have had in their past. Yes, we'll go over this form later. I completed the x-ray permission form. Yes. I am using this range of settings. Yes, it's already set. I've already set it for you. I removed all intra and extraoral appliances that would interfere with an image. This is any earrings, nose rings, lip rings, tongue rings. This would be anything that hair, bobby pins, dentures, partials, things like that. You want all of those out of the mouth. Yes. I selected the appropriate bite block for edentulous and or dentulous. Yes. So if they're edentulous and they do not have teeth, then you would put the bite block up to their philtrum. If they're dentulous and they have teeth, then you would go ahead and have them bite their top and bottom teeth into the bite block. If they have bottom teeth but not top teeth, then you could still use that bite block. Just go get a cotton roll so that it's more comfortable for the patient. I have a technique chart posted in each of my x-ray rooms showing the kVPMA and exposure times, and yes. So now the student would go get Dr. Shoemaker. And they would say, all right, Dr. Shoemaker, I'm ready for you to look. So Dr. Shoemaker would come up and she would go through all of these and she'd say, okay. And then she'd get to, I removed all intra and extraoral appliances. And she'd see, well, why is their denture still in their mouth? What? Okay, so the student then did not answer this appropriately and would get points marked off. This form is very, very important. We have to do our dose reduction correctly. So then after that, the student would sign and then accept. And then the dentist would sign and then accept. Again, this form, the intra and extraoral form, is for the patient's safety. We never want to expose them or overexpose them for unnecessary reasons. We always want to double check our work before we ever press the exposure button. You save it, and that is your dose reduction.